antinomy, because it is very important. Antinomy. Well, if you analyze this word, you will see what it means. Nomos is in Greek law. So antinomy is like breaking of the law or something that contradicts the law. Okay.
Yes, opposite.
And
opposite.
Well, you can just consult the dictionary. Maybe in Spanish you also have antinomy. So this is something that cannot be grasped easily because it contains an inner contradiction, okay? Well, we say antinomy of freedom and necessity, for example. Well, I will come to it. But the first antinomy in Kant sort of specified 4 antinomies. They're called 4 antinomies of pure reason. I think there is an article in Wikipedia on that. Or maybe in there is a Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, also very important and very, I would say, trustful source. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Stanford, you know Stanford University. So Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy is a very good online resource on, say, you are from Spain now, or I will, well, Angel Sierra, are you from Spain or from Latin America?
Yes, Mexico.
You are from, but you are now in Mexico or
yes.
in Moscow?
No,
in Mexico.
Yes.
You have 25 degrees?
21.
21, okay. Unfortunately, it's much colder here. Well, so, so the first antinomy, so there were 4 antinomies. The first antinomy of pure reason is this object of this antinomy is our question of the universe, or what is the universe? Can we use the concept of universe? Is it not a contradictory concept? Well, it seems that universe is a non-contradictory notion, that everyone understands what is universe. But when we say universe as like a system of all things, so whether you can imagine infinite, if space and time are infinite, so can you really imagine the infinite space, and can you include these infinitely distant stars or galaxies into your perception if so the light hasn't yet come to you from these distant objects? So how can you dare to speak about those objects which you cannot even see because they are so far from you, okay? So shouldn't be, as Kant says, more modest to abstain from such concepts as universe, but say visible universe, okay? More modest concept, not universe as a whole, but observable universe, okay? Or like say a microcosm or a surrounding cosmos, which is a cosmos of your room, for example. You can say, well, my room is, I more or less know what is in my room, but I cannot say that I know what is in distant galaxies, for example, or in infinite space, which is cannot be even passed through all eternity, okay? Well, if you take infinite seriously, so what Kant suggested, he followed here René Descartes, he suggested to use a more modest notion of indefinitely large, not infinite, but indefinite, indefinitely large. This is the suggestion of Kant. So Kant suggested to be more modest and not speak about finite or infinite. They said, well, it's if you say universe is finite, then you will have to answer the question, what is outskirts, in the outskirts of it, or like just if there are some borders, what is outside, okay, outside the borders of the universe, if it is finite. If it is infinite, you cannot just grasp it, because you cannot grasp the infinite. So Kant suggested to use the word indefinite. And he said that here we come to a contradiction, because we cannot assert either finiteness or finiteness or infiniteness of our universe. I don't know how to pronounce finiteness. Maybe finiteness, I don't know. Finiteness or finite character, we'll say that. Finite character of the universe or infinite character of the universe, okay? We just stop and we cannot decide anything. And the same goes for eternity or creation in time. So according to Kant, we cannot speak about our universe having a certain age or being like born ex nihilo or from nothing. He says here's also a contradiction. But if we say that our universe existed for the infinite time, it's also contradictory, because it will follow that the infinity was already past, that we are now, say, living, and we have already, our universe have already passed the infinite ages before this moment, okay? It's also very difficult to imagine. So Kant says that our reason is not fit to answer these questions. So it's, and also from this follows a certain, I would say, conclusion that the proofs of the existence of God are not strictly valid, because they are all based on this concept of universe and creation in time. So if we want to prove that God exists, so what we mean by God? By God, we mean the creator who created the universe in a certain moment of time. And here because we cannot grasp what it means, this beginning or infinity or finite universe and infinite God, so we better say that these proofs are only probable, but not, how to say, strict or mathematically, I would say, logically correct. So, well, Kant devoted part of his critique of pure reason to the disproof of certain, well, for criticism of these proofs of the existence of God. But I would not focus on this question, but because it is outside our program. Our program is based on Kant's theory of knowledge, so focused on Kant's theory of knowledge. So we'll speak about antinomies because they are here most important. The second antinomy concerns that we'll say the infinitely small, or so-called atoms. And here Kant puts the same question, whether you can divide the atom. Well, if atom is indivisible, then it seems that there is a contradiction, because atom is a geometrical figure, how to say, geometrical object. It has a certain, if it is a round atom, like spherical atom, then it has a radius, and it has circumference, and so how to say, mentally it can be divided, as all geometrical figures can be divided into infinity. So what makes it indivisible is not understood. That's why Kant said that indivisibility of atoms is a contradiction, because we cannot understand what makes it indivisible. But also divisibility in infinity also is contradictory, because it deals with infinity, and infinitely small is also not easy to imagine, because it is like a reflection of infinitely large. Okay, so if we cannot imagine infinitely large, we cannot imagine also infinitely small. So this is the second antinomy, the antinomy of divisibility and indivisibility of matter. Well,
Professor,
of course, here also Kant is basing him on the philosophy of René Descartes. René Descartes opposed atomism and the existence of void exactly on these grounds, that it is the indivisible atoms moving in void. This concept seemed to Descartes contradictory. Okay, now, but sort of, but there's no, you cannot find a good alternative to that, because if the space is full of matter, then how motion is possible if everything is already packed? You understand? How can you move, for example, in the wagon of metro or in the metro car in the rush hour? Okay, it's difficult. I think in Mexico it is also a problem to move in rush hour. So when everything is packed, when there are traffic jams, so it's difficult to move. The same, well, if there's no void, how motion is possible? It's also interesting. So, well, the first two antinomies we have already passed. Then follows another two.
Professor, about the first antinomy, uh, Kant knew Newton's work, so he had a notion of absolute space and time, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, but you see, Kant didn't put attention to the fact, which I think Bentley already knew, that the gravitational potential from the infinite amount of objects, gravitating objects, is not possible to count, because it is tends to infinity. It's called gravitational paradox. You can enter this how to say, no, you can see, look at this entry in a dictionary, and this gravitational paradox. It was solved only by Albert Einstein in the beginning of the 20th century with his general theory of relativity. Well, we'll speak about that later, but now only I want to stress that point, that of course for Kant, Kant was not an enthusiast of infinite space in a Newtonian sense, because he thought that perhaps it's too great, how to say, generalization, I would say, to imagine infinitely large space full of infinite amount of stars. This is too much generalization. And also it is interesting that Newton somehow associated this space with God and called it, this infinite space, sensorium Dei. I will just write in chat. If you put this question about Newton, then it is interesting just for you to see this notion, sensorium Dei. You see, Angel Sarah, sensorium Dei. Follow the chat. You will find a lot of information here. But for Kant, it's too brave notion to associate God with space, okay, somehow. So we cannot find, well, of course, Kant admired Newton and appreciated his physics very much, but he followed maybe on Cartesian lines, not on Newtonian lines. Okay,
So
now,
how do sorry, how does Kant approach the previous notion of the relationship between faith and the heart?
no, well, yes, it is interesting if we take the question of faith. Kant expressly writes in the introduction to his book Critique of Pure Reason that he criticized knowledge in order to gain place for faith. So when he says that I criticize knowledge because I want to gain a place for faith, then faith is understood in Pascal, in the sense of Pascal and Rousseau, the feeling, which has nothing to do with proofs, okay? Religion, according to Jean-Jacques Rousseau, whom Kant very much admired and he had his portrait, I mean, of Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his study. You don't have a portrait of Jean-Jacques Rousseau in your study, Angel, yes? Don't have, yes? I have if you see, I have a Damien de Wester a book.
Yeah.
Is yeah. So, but not Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Well, but Jean-Jacques Rousseau, if you just study his philosophy, and we'll come to it, I think later, he said that faith is from the heart and not from reason. So here Kant seems to follow Rousseau. So his criticism of the proofs of the existence of God doesn't mean that Kant was an infidel or that he sort of apostatized from Christianity. Also, he wanted to have a certain, he said, a refined version of religion, or he said later, religion in frames of pure reason. This was one of his works. So, well, let's come to the third question, to the third antinomy, because this third antinomy is very important. It is the antinomy of necessity and free will. So whether there are some free causes or say free will somewhere in nature or in man, or everything is caused by necessary laws and comes necessarily so. Well, you know that the position of determinism or necessity of everything was formulated by Benedict Spinoza in his work called Ethics. And here Kant, who of course knew Spinoza, could find no fault in Spinoza's arguments. For example, Spinoza said that if a stone had a reason and then while falling down, the stone would think that he's falling by its own free will. Okay, so this is like a irony or a joke or a sarcasm of Spinoza aimed at humans who think that they are free to choose this or that action or this or that way of living. And as Spinoza said, they have no more freedom in choosing their actions as a horse can have freedom not to be a horse, okay? A horse has no freedom not to be a horse, okay? So the man also is like determined to a certain conduct. So the notion of sin, the notion of evil, the notion of good are all like baseless notion. They don't have basis in objectivity, because objectively our actions can be only judged on the just criterion of their utility or rationality, but not cannot be imputed sort of to man, because man has no sort of man can't choose this action. He has no ability to choose between different ways of action. Okay, now Kant, of course, didn't like this Spinoza's attitude, and he himself was strongly moralistic, and he introduced even this, how to say, a certain proof of the existence of God as a father of freedom, because otherwise freedom cannot be introduced in this world without God's help, sort of. And without freedom, you cannot judge human actions. But here, it is the object of his another work, the critique of practical reason. But our program, unfortunately, is built in such a way that we have no time for analysis of Kantian ethics or his ethics of categorical imperative. But we can only say that here, in the frames of the third antinomy, the same question is put, whether there is freedom or there is necessity. And it is important for Kant that he says that pure reason cannot solve this question. What is needed is faith. So if we believe in our free will, in our sense of what is sense of what is need, and sort of what we must do, what we should do, the sense of obligation, you understand? This comes only from our inner feeling, from the heart, if you want, and not from reason. So this question of guilt, this question of consciousness or conscience better, this comes from the heart, not from reason. And now the fourth antinomy, if we have some few minutes left, the fourth antinomy deals with the existence of the first cause, or with God. And here also we cannot imagine, according to Kant, what if we take the idea of the first cause, we cannot prove syllogistically that this first cause itself has no beginning, because for every cause we can sort of invent some more primary cause. Okay, so in these first causes, or in these causes of things, we can go to infinity, and there's possible that we will never find the first cause. Well, you know, according to Thomas Aquinas, this is not possible, because this like series of infinite causes, it cannot be imagined, according to, is contradictory according to Thomas Aquinas. But for Kant, because he dealt with the question of infinity in another way, this was not self-contradictory, it was possible. So an atheist can just mock the Christian or a believer, asking him, who created God? Okay, and or what did God do before creation of the world? Okay, so of course, if you sort of define God as a necessary cause, as did, for example, Thomas Aquinas, then of course you can build contradictory free theology. But reason can suspect also this theology, because reason can say that there is no such thing as necessary being, for example. Well, it depends on your axiomatic. So for the Kantian axiomatic didn't have place for scholasticism, for example. Well, unfortunately, also I cannot speak much on that because I have to follow our program, which is focused on the question of gnoseology or theory of knowledge. Because we are studying history and philosophy of science, so Kant is important for us when he puts the questions that have some relation to cosmology, to elementary particles, to space and time, to cause and effect, to determinism or indeterminism. That is what is for us most important in Kant's heritage. That's why I focus on that. Well, mostly that's all. So uh, in our previous session, there were some questions which remained unsolved. Yes, Anshita? We passed to some questions of how to prepare an essay, and I went out of the discussion room. Yes?
No, we were not discussing about the essay. We were discussing about the study material.
Material.
Yeah,
Yes. How to give you enough material to study. Yes.
yeah,
I mean, enough textbooks. Well,
yeah. Not textbooks.
today,
Presentation, PowerPoint presentation will also work because.
I see. So now I will suggest you this work, which is, it is internet source, but it is very important.
But at least provide us
Stanford,
a link also, link of the book which you want to.
yes, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. This is a very, I think, powerful book. It is free and everybody can use it.
Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Philosophy, yes? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just dial it, you will have it. And there you can find there's a alphabetic like catalog of articles. So you can find Kant, for example, or any other topic which you like. There are also articles on, say, determinism or universe. So I think it is good. So please use it because we are living in quite another epoch. You see, Anshita, we are not living in the epoch of books. We are living in the epoch of social networks, Zoom, and other sources of information. And first of all, it's the internet. Of course, internet is not reliable. You can in the internet you can find a lot of fake news. Okay. Yes, please.
But my question is that there are a plethora of study material, but we need to specific which is related to the course, which will the questions which will come into the examination, or we need to make assignment or kind of thing. So we just wanted to know which things we need to study.
Well, now you please focus on writing an essay because the essay should be prepared before the 12th of December. So you have a little bit, a month and a half to prepare your essay. The essay should be devoted to your topic of investigation. If you, for example, if you are life sciences, yes, Anshita?
No, mine is cyber security.
Security?
Yeah.
Computer security?
Cyber security.
You are cryptologist.
Yeah.
No, it's related to something information theory, how they can, for example,
yeah, but I do use cryptography also and some authentication techniques.
Anshita, then for example, basing on your example, there's a history of how people created certain ciphers, okay, even in antiquity. So, and there also is a long history of how people cracked the codes or cracked the ciphers, okay, and understood what people wanted to hide. This is a work of intelligence services, okay?
Yeah.
How to, yes. So it is very interesting, and you can write a lot about that kind of things, how it was used before computers. But the computers allow us a breakthrough here. And even if you have, for example, password of consisting of 10 numbers, it's sometimes easy also to break your, say, private chat or your email box. Of course, if it is needed, you understand. If you are a small creature, insignificantly politically and financially, then of course nobody will bother with your email box, okay? But if you are, say, Biden or Trump, then perhaps people will try to get your secrets. So the reaction is that Trump or Biden or Putin, they want to be as transparent as they can, so that they have no secrets. Otherwise, there will be, you know, WikiLeaks and scandals and so on. So the best policy here is not to use ciphers or cryptology. Be open, like you say, honesty is the best policy, okay? Don't keep something behind. Be as you are, be natural. But of course, people don't want to be natural, especially in the sphere of economics, in financial activities. And that is why cryptography is necessary. Also in war, if you have war, you understand, war actions. So you just describe how it all appeared.
But
what are the main like epochs or stages, and what is where we are now, sort of, with Snowden. You know who is Snowden? He asked political asylum in Russia. He was an American citizen, okay? So he's hiding somewhere in Russia, I don't know where. But he said that cryptography reached the level when perhaps nobody can be immune from being screened by some intelligence services, okay?
But what we need to provide into the essay, like how many pages it has, what is
Well,
this?
it is, well, my last information is 25 pages, but I do not insist on that because I am the person who will sort of write a short reaction to your essay, okay? I don't put so much stress on the number of pages, but what I want is that it will be devoted to the theme that you are busy with now. If you are, if your topic are ciphers, then it should be devoted to ciphers and not to, say, life sciences. But if you study, say, CRISP, this is life sciences, like intervention in the genome, then you should write about this one and not about ciphers, okay? But of course, there are some neighboring fields, like we can say that the deciphering of genome, for example, yes? Decoding of genome, okay? So there's a science called bioinformatics, okay?
Yeah.
Well, if you study bioinformatics, then it should be bioinformatics.
No, I use
think
it. I use it in my research.
Yes, you use it also. And I think the greatest breakthrough in ciphers will be to decipher the genome, okay? There are some problems still existing there. The so-called junk so parts of genome that cannot be deciphered. Nobody knows why they are existing and for what purpose. Okay, what do they contain? What kind of information do they contain? Or it is just junk, just like garbage. Okay, that accumulated during the natural selection or evolution. Okay, it depends on. So please, well, actually, this is all. If we have some 5 minutes or not.
We have 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
2 minutes, yes. It's only to thank Anshita for hosting us, and also wish you to remain healthy and not be subject to diseases which are spreading now. Yes, keep safe and be careful. And I also wish health to all your relatives and all your acquaintances, especially in India, in Mexico, and in Russia, in places hit very much by the epidemics. Okay, so, and I'm waiting for you next. Hope to see you next Saturday, and next Saturday we'll discuss already new topics, which I will announce. There'll be the question number 6. I think it will be about David Hume, but you'll see. Okay, so now goodbye everybody, and hope to see you next Saturday. Okay.
See you, Ivan.
Hello.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank
better
you.
say.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. 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 Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Remain healthy and remain also cheerful.
Have a nice weekend.
Uh-huh.